Hey everybody, this is Karla, Live, Love, Laugh, Our Real Estate from me, of course, Karla Thompson. I am here with the beautiful Brandi Jordan. Brandi is the owner, proprietor of BAJ Investment Group. I got that right?
Yes,
Okay,
you
got that
did.
right. I got that right. And as you can see, she's a young lady, which I love. She's a young African American lady, which I even love even more. And so we are going to talk to you today about investing. And one of the reasons I wanted to do this interview with you is because you and I have been working. We've been working and been looking at deals, and I love when I can learn from my buyers. And one of the people that you can always learn from is investors. And so, what I like about you is that the greatest attribute that I like about you, what I think everyone needs to understand is when you're looking for properties, it's not about oh, let me get this real quick. How much money I can make? You're thinking, you're strategic, you're planning, you're looking at your ROI, you're looking at your bottom line, and then you make an intelligent decision. I think social media has made us believe that you could just buy and flip and get money overnight, and it's not that simple. So that's why I have you here, and
Thank you.
we're gonna dive into that. Okay. So first and
Sounds good.
foremost, how did you get into investing, real estate investing?
So, for one, thank you for having me and
Of
thank you
course,
for all of the kind words. I really appreciate that.
of course.
So, my journey with real estate investing actually started with my parents talking me into becoming a homeowner because I
Okay,
was a renter for a long time. Like, that's what I knew. That's, the quickest way to get into a property. And my father initially taught to me about owning homes. He and my
okay,
mom owned homes since they were in their late teens.
okay. Wow.
And from home ownership, it ended up expanding into me and my mother purchasing our first real estate property together. So initially, I bought my first home at 23 years old.
Oh
And
wow.
then 7 years later is when me and my mother got our first real estate investment property.
Okay. Very good. Very good. Very good. So it was mom and dad that got you into it.
Yes,
Wow.
yes.
That's good. That's actually like a little known Black History fact, as they say, because that's not a story that you hear often in our community, to be honest with you.
Unfortunately, not. Mhm.
So I love that. I love that. That's where your foundation came from. So how
Mhm.
long have you been investing? I guess since
11 years
11
now.
years. Okay. All
Mhm.
right. Okay. All right. So what was your biggest mistake, the biggest loss in investing in real estate? What was that?
So I would absolutely say my biggest mistake is over analyzing. Like you mentioned, I'm really into the analytics. I want to make sure the numbers are right. I'm an accountant by trade, so numbers are just my thing. And I'm also
Okay.
an analyst, so I'm always looking at numbers. I need to understand everything, it has to make sense.
Right.
But I personally ran into overanalyzing, or some people call it quote unquote analysis paralysis,
Okay.
where I would overanalyze. I would take so long to get to that. Yes, okay, let's move forward. The property's gone, especially when things are really hot in the
Right.
market. You
Right.
can't overanalyze. Like once you feel comfortable with the property and you want to move forward, go ahead and move forward instead
Okay.
of continuing to analyze, because then the fear of the unknown starts kicking in and it's just all this extra stuff that kicks in, and then you end up not executing.
So what was the property that was it a property that you remember and you're like, man, I wish, do you remember the property
Oh,
or
it's been several. It's always different ones. It's duplexes, like the multi-families. At
Mhm.
one point, it was a lot of them on the market. The pricing was good, but
Yeah.
it was all of the overanalyzing. And oh, well, what if this and what if that? Like all of the nonsense comes into my mind, or was coming into my
Right.
mind. And then the property is gone. Now you try to find a multifamily now, it's either super expensive or
Yes.
inexistent.
Yeah, yeah. The ones that I have found, even the ones that are not great are maybe 5,
Hmm.
maybe 5.
Right.
Um, and I'm saying maybe because they're higher than that.
Right.
It's they're insane right now. So okay, so that's good. So
Exactly.
if you feel it, you got to kind of go with your gut. You got to kind of balance your gut
Yes.
and
Mm.
the common sense, right?
It's definitely a mix of that. You go
Okay,
with your common sense and your knowledge, what you've learned, but also definitely go with your gut too, because your intuition is going to tell you, like, I don't even want to deal with that, or this seems like something I should move forward with.
right. And you know what? I don't have this on here. All right, but it just popped up in my head. So for
Okay.
you, is it the long game or the short game when you're investing? Are you a invest flip or which one for you?
I'm actually the long game.
Long
So
game. Okay.
I've thought about doing the investing and flipping, and maybe eventually I'll get into that part, but I'm more so the long term rental, buy and hold, maybe eventually sell. I'm looking into doing short term rentals,
Okay.
but the actual property would be a long term investment for me.
And why?
I like stability,
Okay.
and the rental income coming in at a certain amount, or sorry, a certain time per month helps me budget properly, helps me have that like satisfaction. Okay, things are moving in the right direction. When it comes to short term renting, you never really know what's going to happen. For instance, with Airbnb, you could be making X amount of rental income per month,
Right.
or you could not. For me, I'm not really at a place where I'm ready to move
Okay.
forward with that just yet, but I'm thinking about it. And then as far as the flipping
Flip.
goes,
Yeah. Okay.
yeah,
Okay. All
as
right.
far as the flipping goes, I personally wouldn't want to put a lot into rehabbing a property and it's
Okay.
ready to go and it just sits on the market. And then I'm
Okay.
responsible for those expenses.
Okay. Okay. All
Mhm.
right.
But that's for me because there's a lot of people out there that are doing it big time. The investors are coming in and they're getting the properties for pennies on the dollar and rehabbing them, flipping them, and they're doing well.
Okay. Okay. Good. You answered that question. So on the opposite, what was your greatest victory? Like what was the one that you was like, this was it. This was the bomb. We got this. Me, what was that
Mhm.
property? What was that like?
So far, because I feel like it's going to be a lot more coming.
Okay.
But so far, it was rehabbing my personal home. It was a condo, or is a
Okay.
condo, I should say. I still have it. And transferring it or converting it into a rental property, a long term rental property. And it
Okay.
went from, okay, this is good for me to live in, to me helping actually do some of the rehabs, and we redid pretty much the entire condo so that we can get a tenant in and finding the tenant, like the whole process. I did have support as far as people that I can go to help with the work or to ask questions to. But for the most part, I led that project and it's been successful.
Okay. Okay. Cool. Cool.
So that was a big
That's one of
victory.
my goals. I mean, I bought my condo that I purchased. That was my goal was to, well, it still is to, um, do a little rehab and then rent it out for long-term rental and
Yeah.
purchase another property. But anyway,
Mhm.
cool. All right. So what is the biggest misconception about investing? What is the biggest misconception that
I
people
would
have?
I would say a lot of people think that you have to be a millionaire or a multimillionaire in order to get into real estate investing. And
Okay.
that's a big misconception because there's various ways to get into real estate investing, and there's a lot of resources out there to help you accomplish whatever it is that you want to accomplish. And
Okay.
professionals that are out there, if you don't know all of the information needed, there's people there that can help you that are experts in a particular area. So I would definitely say that's a big misconception.
So what are some of the resources that someone is like, hey, I mean, do you need good credit? I mean, do you need cash on hand? Like what if I'm just now getting started, what would I need?
It depends on the strategy that you
Okay.
have, because there's different strategies out there when it comes to real estate investing.
Okay.
But having good credit will help you a lot.
Okay.
So working on your credit, getting it to, I would say a 700 would
Okay.
be good. But there are options if your credit isn't good too. So don't think that, or whoever is listening, don't think that you have to have perfect credit or a 700 in order to get into it, because there's still options. You might just have to pay, for instance, more on a loan as far as the interest goes, a higher interest, if your credit is not as good as someone who's in the 700 to 800 range or higher.
Right. Okay. Okay.
And then also other resources are grants.
Okay.
They have different loans. Loans come from different areas. I had listed a couple too that we can discuss a little later if you wanted.
We can discuss now. Go ahead.
Okay, so there's some, I actually made a list. There's the SBA. The SBA helps small businesses, and it doesn't have to be real estate. The SBA helps with pretty much any kind of business that you have, but they have grants available, they have loans available, they have different webinars, they do events. It's a very good program, which is through the government. But
Okay.
then there's also different nonprofits. I didn't name any, but there are nonprofits that pretty much do the same thing, because they want to help small business owners or entrepreneurs, individuals get into whatever they want to get into.
Okay.
Also, something called angel investors,
Okay.
where there's investors out there who just want to make sure that they make a return on their capital investment.
Okay.
So they'll loan money out to different business owners or individuals, entrepreneurs, in order to get started. Crowdfunding is another option. And me personally, I ended up getting into it, like my capital. I was able to get a loan out of my 401k.
Okay.
Like being a W-2 employee, having a 401k, going into my investments, my real estate, sorry, my not real estate, but retirement
Right.
account, and getting money to put into real estate investments was the way that I did it. So
Okay.
that's another option.
Okay.
Um, yeah, there's various ways. The loans, reaching out to family and friends.
Family, you sure?
Yeah, listen, but I will say,
You know how
if you're
people have a
doing,
mixed family with business.
I know, but if you do have family who's business minded
Right.
and you go that route, I would highly suggest doing a promissory note, keeping the personal relationship separate from the business relationship.
Right.
Have everything in writing. How much are you borrowing? Is there going to be interest? If it is, what's the interest rate? Pretty much like you would do with going to a bank and they're
Right.
giving you a loan. When
Right.
is the money going to be returned? All of that, get it documented, both parties sign. That way there's no issues.
You know what I heard someone say, when you're doing business, the smartest thing to do when you start a partnership with anyone is to have the exit agreement first,
Yes.
because they're like, once if it goes left, then you already have the exit agreement in place, and it's not coming from a place of anger or strife,
Yeah.
or but that's one of the best advice that I've heard.
I totally agree with that.
Yeah, my sister and I actually bought a house, and honestly, me and my siblings are pretty good as far as it comes to money and finances and things like that. But most people are like, nah. So
Yeah.
that's why I'm laughing. Most people are like, yeah. So all right. So okay.
Unfortunately.
So what would be? I'm gonna jump around a little bit.
Okay.
Um, what would be my first step? All right, if I came to you and I said, "Hey, Brandi, listen, I want to start investing. I want to get a long term. I want to get a long term home. My credit is about 715. I got about 10,000 over here. What do I need to do? Like what's the first step that someone needs to do? That first initial step they need to do.
Okay. I would highly suggest going over your personal budget.
I knew you was gonna say budget. I already knew you was gonna say budget. People hate budgets. I'm a budget chick, so but
Exactly.
okay.
Budgets are very important, especially when you're trying to do something new.
Right.
So look at your personal finances
Okay.
and see what you can afford with your personal income. Not talking about income that's going to come in from whatever investment, not talking about money that you're going to get from whatever loan or grant. What could you afford if you were to go out today and purchase something? And this is to cover the mortgage, if you're going to get a mortgage on a property. This is the closing costs, the down payment, all of that.
Wow.
What can you afford?
You know that people do the opposite, right? You know,
Absolutely.
most of the advice you hear is people telling you to look at what you can make as opposed to looking at what you can afford. So that is very profound.
Yeah.
What you just said, because most people think the exact opposite. So that's very good. Okay. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to be like, okay, all right, this is what I can afford. Now, am I looking at what I can afford outside of my already living budget?
Yeah. You are looking at what you can afford outside.
Okay.
Yeah,
You changed the whole game.
outside of your living budget. And I'll tell you why.
Oh, I
Because
get it. Right. Go ahead.
you don't want to get into a situation where you did it the other way and you looked at how much money you can make.
Right.
But then you get into it and you're not making that income, but you still have these expenses that are attached to the property, whether it's a loan or whatever, the mortgage payment and the property taxes, all of that has to be considered. And you have this attached to your name or a LLC that's attached to your name. So you have to make sure that those expenses are taken care of. The income's not coming in. So who's going to take care of it? Unless you want to mess up your credit or, do something that's going to hinder you in the future, you need to make sure that you can pay those bills that are attached to the investment property out of your personal expenses first. And then whatever income comes in is just extra.
Wow. No one is saying that. You know that, right? I know you know that.
Because they're trying to make things look so easy. And it can
no one is saying that. And so, all right, let's say I'm trying to give you thoughts the way people think. Okay. Let's say I can't. Let's say, all right, let's say I can't. I can't do anything. I can't afford anything extra, maybe 500. But I have savings of, I don't know, 40,000, or I could pull 50,000 out of my 401k in case something happens. Is that a strategy or no?
$500 is not going to get anybody into a property that they're acquiring in order to rent it out or do anything major. But $500 could possibly work in a different way, a different strategy, which I personally have not done yet, but I've done a lot of research on. And it's a strategy called wholesaling, where you need X amount of money for the escrow deposit in order to put the property on contract and then assign the contract over. A lot of people are jumping over into that realm and they're making it seem very easy to do that.
I can't do it.
Well,
I've heard about it. It's a lot to it.
Yeah.
I'm just not that chick.
There's a lot of research involved.
Yeah, I'm not that chick.
Research involved.
Okay,
which is why I didn't jump into it. So $500, getting back to the original question, it's not going to do much, but the fact that you have access to other funds, you need to liquidate those assets in order to do something with it.
So if I had like 50K at my discretion, all right, and but I still can't afford it monthly, are you saying I can move forward with 50K or wait till I can afford something extra monthly. You get what I'm
I would,
saying?
yeah, I would wait because in my mind, if you're getting a long-term investment and you have 50K total, a lot of that is going to go towards the down payment on the property,
Right.
unless you're trying to buy it cash. For 50,000 cash, you probably won't find anything retail. You may
Exactly.
find some land, but not the actual property. So you need to also factor in the closing costs. That's going to go on top of the down payment amount.
Right.
Down payment, I like to be more fiscally conservative. So I'll say 20% for the down payment. I would say 10% for the closing costs because you never really know. I believe it can
Right.
be between 5 and 9. So
Right.
I say 10. And then also think about money that you're going to want to put into the property to fix it up a little bit.
See, I love that because people assume that, I mean, don't get me wrong, 50 grand is a lot of money, right?
It is.
But it's not.
When you're looking at it in the
When
grand
you
scheme.
just broke it down like that, it's like it's gone.
Yeah, it
Okay.
is.
All right. I
Yep.
love
And
that. I love that.
then you have to also think about the property taxes that you'll have to pay once you get the
Right.
property,
Homeowners
whatever
insurance.
maintenance, yep, insurance, all of that stuff too, which is why it's good to have the extra on top of the 50K.
Got it. Okay. All right. I like that. I like that. So, what are the advantages to investing, real estate investing? What's the advantage besides the obvious of, making extra income? What are other advantages?
I was gonna say, well, the main one is making that income.
Right, right, right. Exactly. I knew you was gonna say that. That's why I took it from you. Give me something else.
But also, for me, it's the opportunity to help people
Okay.
because when you're doing long-term investing, you're helping someone get into a comfortable, reliable home. There's
Okay.
a lot of people who are not good landlords. They don't keep up with their property, but they charge the highest rent. I am completely against that. So I like to provide comfortable, reliable homes
Right.
and also helping people, for instance, with the wholesaling, you can help people get out of a financial bind by taking over their property, helping them, strategize in order to not go bankrupt or not go into foreclosure or whatever their situation is. A lot of people will have properties attached to them because they're an heir, but they don't want to be responsible for maintaining the property. So helping them get out of that situation too. So
Okay.
definitely helping people, being collaborative because you are going to come across a lot of professionals when you're trying to do certain things. I'm very, very, very thankful for meeting you, Karla, because
Oh,
you're
I
awesome.
appreciate it. Thank you.
You're welcome when it comes to trying to find a particular kind of property and then also collaborating with contractors. I have an awesome team of contractors who do like the maintenance work and
That's
cleaning.
hard to find. That's
Oh
hard to
my
find.
gosh,
That's hard.
that is
I know you went
so
through a
hard.
few. I know you went
Yes,
through a few.
I
That's
have. And
hard to find.
the horror stories that I've heard with other people, homeowners and investors who
Mm-hmm.
come across contractors who aren't reliable. So just the collaborative aspect of it. And I had being creative
Mm-hmm.
because you're able to think of all of these different things that you can actually do.
Right.
Like it's almost like playing Monopoly. I joke around about it all the time, but it is like I used to love playing Monopoly as a kid. And now as an adult, I'm able to go out and purchase different properties and collect rent and do some rehab and, whatever the case may be.
Right.
But then once I get a particular property, I can either fix it up to look like a home. I can be creative in that sense, or I can find somebody else who I can possibly help get into investing because I've already found a property, so I can help them get into it. It's
Okay.
a lot of different things that you can be creative with when it comes to real estate investing.
Okay. And what are the disadvantages?
I would say the biggest disadvantage, of course, is the risk involved. So, thinking of long term renting. we can get a property and we think we're going to put a long-term tenant in there who's gonna take care of the property and pay the rent on time and all that stuff. We may not actually get that.
Right.
So we still have to pay the mortgage, the taxes, the insurance, the HOA fees, whatever else,
Right.
the maintenance, and we're not getting the income to cover that, but yet somebody's possibly still living in the property. So that's a risk. Or if you're doing like flips where you're buying the property and you're going to either rehab it or just flip it as it is, the property can sit there in your name or your business's name for who knows how long because no one wants to buy it, but you're still responsible for the expenses attached to it. So I
Exactly.
would say those are the two biggest disadvantages. I'm just checking my notes. Yeah, that's what I had down, the two biggest
Okay.
disadvantages.
Okay.
Having expenses and not being able to cover the expenses with income and make a profit. You don't want to break even. The goal is to have profit after that.
Right. And how has investing changed over the years? Have you seen? I've seen a change just since COVID, but you've been doing it
Oh
much
yeah.
longer than I have. So how have you seen it changed?
So a lot of things have stayed the same with a lot of investors, and they stick to the traditional long-term investing of a single family home, and that's it. But there's a lot of technological advancements that have come about that allow us to do new things, not just with the short-term renting and the Airbnb and Verbo, and this app is here to do that, but
Right.
also the way that investors are finding the properties are different. Way back
Okay.
when, they didn't have the internet in order to look for properties that are in a different state. They'd have to hope that one of their friends who lives in whatever state comes across something, calls them, or sends them, snail mail in
Right.
order to find out about it. Now we can go into different software or websites and actually see different properties, not only in different states in the US, but all over the world. And then we can find different teams in different areas to help us manage the properties or buy the properties or do the title work, all of that, find different lenders. So technology has definitely changed
Change it.
things.
Okay.
Hmm.
Okay. Technology. What
Yeah.
about as far, are there any other changes that stand out to you?
That's the main one. Oh, the creative way. Well, I touched on short-term rental so much, but the creative ways to do investing, the B&B and um Verbo, Airbnb, stuff like that.
I had a question on here. I was going to ask you how much you should have saved, but you kind of answered that because
Mhm.
basically you were like, if you can't afford it, then
Just wait.
just
Not
wait.
saying you can't do it, but
Right.
now you know, okay, this is my goal. I have this right now. I need to have this. So figure out a way to get from point A to point B so that you can accomplish that goal. Like me personally, I was in my condo and then I ended up getting the home with my mom, the rental property with my mom before I rented out my personal condo.
Okay.
And it was a gap in between that so that I can get things in order. I can figure out exactly my plan of attack. Like I took time in order to get to where I am now. But once I got to that place, it was almost like a quantum leap because I have all of this knowledge of years of, waiting to get to this point, doing
Right.
whatever research and connecting with different people so that I can do a lot more quicker.
Okay.
So it was taking the time initially and then moving faster once you get
Okay.
to a particular place, working on credit, like everything aligns as it's supposed to, so that you can just execute and keep repeating the same thing, maybe switch gears a little bit, do the strategy a little bit different, and just keep going. It's fun.
I see. I see. I love what you said. You answered a lot of my questions, and I really love the way you put things in perspective. Basically, like it's not about how much you make. I mean, how much you can make. It's like how much
What
you
can you
have.
afford?
It's
Yeah,
like how much it's going to take. You know what I mean? Um,
exactly.
so if you had, I guess we could wrap it up. But if there's one like takeaway you want people to like just remember from this conversation, like what would be that one takeaway that you just want people to know about investing?
I would definitely say the biggest takeaway is to do it. Don't second guess yourself. Don't let a bunch of people tell you that you shouldn't do it and have them putting their fears into you.
Right.
You know what you want to do. It's in you. It continues to come to your mind. You feel that this is what you're supposed to be doing. Get the knowledge, connect with the people that you need to connect with, and execute it. Don't overanalyze too much. Analyze, but don't overanalyze.
Right,
And
right.
execute.
Okay. Cool, cool, cool. Well, I'm hoping to be there. I don't, I'm
Yes, let me know if you need my help. You've been helping me so
of course I will. I mean, I'm on that road of like what you were saying. Like I'm just trying to figure out like getting myself positioned because in my line of work, my money is not constant. My
much.
money is,
Right.
is here and is there. So I'm
Mhm.
like, living in the cut. And I think a lot of people, a lot of people talk about doing these kind of things, and I just feel like social media has, I don't want to say glamorized, but they've made a lot of things that take a lot of work
Yeah.
look like is one, one, two,
Yeah.
three, and it's not. But and I
Mhm.
really love your perspective of if you can't afford to keep this note alongside what you're making, it just doesn't even make
It's
sense.
not time.
Uh,
Mhm.
And I'm telling you, I have not heard not one person say that at all. I haven't heard one and it makes all the sense in the world to me.
Yeah. I
Because I'm a
wish
budget
more
chick, but
people. Yeah.
but um but anyway, that's great. So, all right. Well, I am going to wrap it up because you answered like some of my questions on here. We kind of already answered, and I greatly appreciate it. One of the
Of
things that
course.
I think you should do, you may already be doing it, is you
Mhm.
may want to do this for people. Just mentor people or get on Facebook Live or get on social
Right.
media and just talk about this kind of stuff because I'm telling you, like people don't get it. People don't understand it. People don't get it. People need to know, you know what I mean? Even when you talked about credit, one of the things with credit is, it's funny, my daughter's in her 30s and she's like, Mommy, I used to think it was so boring when you was talking about credit when I was younger. And she's like, now I get it. But credit it actually opens a few doors, you know what I mean? Like
Oh,
how you were
it
saying, like,
does.
yeah, like with the interest rate, with the being able to maybe do a HELOC or something on one of your other
Oh,
properties and
yeah.
pull money out of that.
Absolutely.
So,
That's something we didn't even touch on, the HELOCs. I know a lot of people aren't familiar with that.
go ahead, let's talk about that a little bit. Go ahead.
So, again, thank you because I was thinking of starting to share more on social media about real estate
You
investing and
should.
different things.
You
So, I
should.
will definitely take your advice on that.
You should.
And with HELOCs, it's something that I wish we all knew about sooner and
Mhm.
they like told us more about. Like we learn about regular credit, consumer credit, we learn about mortgages,
Mhm.
we know how to get into homes. But once you get into that home, your home actually gets equity in it. If it was purchased at a good rate, or sorry, not a good rate, but a good price,
Mhm.
and the value has increased. The appreciation is something that can be used to pretty much take a loan against the home versus going to a regular bank trying to get a loan straight from the bank. They put it against the equity in the home. So the home equity line of credit is actually something that I've done. And it was something brand new to me. So of course I'm all nervous, like doing all this extra research, but I'm still
Right.
going forward with it.
Right.
And it's good. It works out very well. You're gonna end up getting an investment loan versus a traditional conventional loan. So the rates may be a little bit different, but it's worth it, I think. and it's another tool that we can use in order to get property. So if you already own a home, you could be tapping into the equity in order to get the next property.
And explain how the HELOC works if you can, because the HELOC is, you'll get and I want to make sure I'm telling you right, because I haven't done one yet, but I started the process and then I stopped because I wasn't sure how the HELOC was going to affect me with the next property with the DTI and all that, but that's a whole other story. But with the HELOC, it is, let's say I get 20 grand out my house. I don't, you only use it, it's almost, I'm trying to say it right, I don't want to get people confused. It's almost like I don't want to say a bank account or a credit card, but you're only paying back what you're using, right?
What you use. Exactly.
Even if you, so if you got 20 and you spent 5 to do the bathrooms, you're just paying back the 5, but the other 15 is right.
Yeah,
okay,
that's what
okay.
the interest is going to be on. That's the line of credit.
Right.
So you can get a line of credit for X amount, and you're only going to use X amount. So that's what you're going to be paying the interest on. Right. Then they also have stuff that are called cash out refis. Actually, I didn't do the HELOC. I did the cash out refi, but it was against the equity. Okay. So I did an actual loan where I got the cash. Got it. So I'm able to do more with it. And it's pretty much like any other kind of loan. You make your mortgage payment, the interest is on there. And again, you use the cash for whatever you want to use the cash for as far as investing goes. Right. Right. You can't just get the cash out saying that you're going to use it for an investment and you go and buy a car. Right. And do you need your credit? How is that? Does credit play a part in it? It does. The higher your credit score, the lower the interest rate will be. So you definitely want to have a good credit score. You don't have to have the best, but you'll be more appealing to more lenders if your credit score is higher. Okay. Okay. Sounds good. Sounds good. Okay. All right. Well, thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. You're welcome. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. I really appreciate it. And you definitely need to be doing this on social media. So you could just, and I like it because you're authentic. And I just like when people are simplicity has taken a back seat to a lot of things. And I feel like I like your delivery. You're not, but then again, you might get on social media, get a little likes, and then I don't know, you might be all turned up. You might be all turned up. I don't know. But anyway, thank you so much. Thank you so much. And I appreciate it. Thank you. Absolutely. All right.